Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eleanor Scully, and I am the head of the Langley School. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. I'm joined by Ryan Jefferson, who is the head of our middle school, and Brent Locke, who is our dean of students. Our topic today is navigating early adolescence in middle school, and we are thrilled you're joining us so that we can spend some time taking a look at what we as educators here at Langley know about the middle school years, some of the lessons that we've gleaned over time, and some of the developmental milestones that are present in middle school. That translate to what we do at Langley, our program, and to how students experience our curriculum and the social world of Langley School, and what you can expect from a Langley graduate, how we build a systematic program that develops certain qualities and attributes in our graduates. Just a little bit about our school. We are a preschool through grade 8 school by design. We'll hear a little bit about that today in this webinar, why we believe so passionately in having a model that ends at 8th grade. We are a co-educational day school located in McLean, Virginia. 38% of our students identify as diverse in some way. We have a $1.75 million financial aid budget that we use to make this experience accessible to a broad range of talented and dynamic students. We have a student-teacher ratio of approximately 7-to-1, which includes some of the specialists that support learning at Langley. And I guess what I would say more than anything is that at the heart of our model and philosophy is that we believe in a student, teacher, and parent-centered partnership. There's just tremendous collaboration and communication between students, parents, and teachers, and that really shapes our community. A couple of things about middle school that we think are worth pointing out. First and foremost, we know that structure matters. Our model of what we believe it is so useful to end our program at 8th grade and have our middle schoolers, for us, those are our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, be the oldest members of the school community. There's been some interesting research done, longitudinal studies surveying students over tremendous geographic diversity about what it's like to be a student when you are in a 6th through 12 model or a K-12 model versus being middle school student when you are the oldest group in school. What we know is that incidences around social climate, such as bullying, sense of belonging, a sense of being connected to school and feeling comfortable, there are much more positive correlations for students when they are the oldest students in the school. So for example, our 7th and 8th graders are the most mature group in the school, and I think they have a different experience because they are not around older students. They're not modeling their behavior on students who are more mature. They're not interacting with older students. And so they take on a mantle of leadership and responsibility that's really different. So what research shows is that if you are the top dog, you have a better social experience. There are lower incidences of bullying and harassment and teasing when you are the oldest. And it also allows you a climate that is safer because you take seriously your responsibility to mentor younger students. So that is one of the large reasons why we have created the kind of environment we have with our middle schoolers being our most mature and oldest students in the school. We also know that development is complex in the middle school years. If I had a dime for every parent that said to me, oh, you couldn't pay me to go back and relive my middle school years, I would be a wealthy woman. I think what I find here, though, is that our middle school gets special attention and special resources, and I would argue that I don't hear students bemoaning the difficulties of their middle school years. I think it's a little bit of a myth sometimes that middle school has to be this time of angst and difficult, sort of there's a malaise that surrounds your growing up. I actually don't think that is the case. If you walk into our middle school, and I hope you'll get a chance to do that, you're going to see kids who are joking around and playful and joyful. Some of them are quite serious about what they're doing, but they're not kind of that stereotype definition of an angst-ridden early adolescent who's suffering. And again, I think this goes back to some of the research that if you create the right conditions, if you have resources like advisory programs and attention in small classes, development of students, if you have resources, clubs and activities, counselors, and places where they can process who they are and who they're becoming, you take a little steam out of the kettle, for lack of a better word. So our kids get a lot of support as they grow into their adolescence. And so while, of course, there are bumps around friendships and normal challenges of growing up, I think these are mitigated at Langley because of the incredibly nurturing environment that they're in the connections that they have with their teachers and their coaches, and the support that they get from the community. And finally, another aspect that I want to emphasize about our program is that, we really believe that when leadership opportunities start young, they more powerfully shape and affect the growth and development of young people. And again, in a preschool through 8th grade model, we spend a lot of time giving our students leadership opportunities from the moment they step on our campus, whether it is through student organizations or opportunities to be buddies to younger students. For instance, our 8th graders have kindergarten buddies that they mentor and nurture throughout the year. We have a student government that is run by the middle school. We have plays and musicals that's over half of the middle school participate in some form, whether it's in doing set design or doing technology support, tech support. So what we find is by giving students these leadership opportunities, they grow in confidence. And again, leadership takes lots of forms. It doesn't have to be the person who's first up front leading the pack. It can be someone who's providing a supportive role or someone who's leading quietly from within. But what we do believe is that students who graduate from Langley have this sense of their efficacy and confidence around what they can do in the world because they've had these opportunities to lead while they're with us. So with that, I'm going to turn the PowerPoint over to Ryan Jefferson, our middle school director, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about how the philosophy plays out in our middle school.
Thanks, Eleanor. Having worked in a K-12 environment at my previous school, the one thing that I realized was most of the resources in terms of student experiences went towards high school students. And in some ways that impeded the development of middle school students socially, cognitively, and emotionally, because they were sort of taking their cues from what the older kids were doing, as opposed to thinking about where they were in their own childhood. And what makes Langley so special is our middle school students are the leaders, as Eleanor was saying. We don't feel a need to rush childhood with our students. They embrace it, as do we. As you can see in the slide, that's our student council president, who wanted to infuse school spirit within the middle school and ultimately the entire school by incorporating blue-white competitions. Obviously, he's with the blue team, but one of the things that he has modeled for the rest of the students is if you have an idea, in our middle school, we will challenge students to sort of think deep about the idea and then how we can implement that to make our middle school experience fun and rewarding for our kids. We also believe that we teach children daily discoveries and we provide age-appropriate challenges for them. We celebrate this age group because we know how special it is. As Eleanor was saying, that most people would say, I don't want to go back to my middle school experience because at times it was challenging. We understand that. And we're excited for the opportunities to challenge our students and help them through this difficult time in their lives. As you can see, the arc of development is really important to us here at Langley. Beginning in preschool all the way through 8th grade, we hire teachers who know students, who know the age group incredibly well. We have teachers who want to teach middle school age students. Now you may be thinking that's crazy, who would want to teach middle school students? But it's a lot of fun because you have kids who are still curious. It's still cool to ask questions. It's still cool to engage within the classroom environment. And that's one of the things that we stress to our students and that you wouldn't necessarily have at a K-12 environment. Because believe it or not, we've seen it, even within the classroom environment, they're still jaded by what's happening at the high school. Whereas here at Langley, it really is about their middle school experience and their classroom experience. The other thing that we know very well is our teachers can identify the cognitive, social, and emotional developments that students face along the arc. We know that the prefrontal cortex with middle school students is not completely developed, and we embrace that. We know that our students, it takes time for them to process decision-making skills. It takes time to sort of figure out which learning styles is best for them. But we work with our teachers, we work with our students to help our students own their learning style, to own their learning management. And through that, they develop confidence and a passion to sort of dive deeper into the material and to develop more independence from their parents. The other thing that we know about students, they crave to be social. We provide opportunities for them to hang out with their friends, whether it's through an advisory period, whether it's through a recess period. It's very important experience to practice social development as well, which we know ties very closely with their emotional development. The other thing that we focus on is this arc of development guides our instruction within the classroom. We're an inquiry-based school. So one of the things that we did this year was we changed our daily schedule to provide longer class periods and longer class times for our students to dive deep into the material, and for the teachers to provide an opportunity or provide an environment to where students own the learning and to where teachers help to facilitate classroom discussions to where kids are not just sitting and being lectured at, but rather they're an integral part in the learning process. The other thing that we know within our arc of development is that this is the middle school age is the time kids explore. It's an opportunity to learn about themselves. It's an opportunity for them to try new things. Within our middle school, we encourage our kids, and you'll hear in a moment from Brent Locke, we encourage them to try new things and to take risks, because this is the time to do it. So when you do transition to high school, you feel more confident and you feel more prepared for what's ahead.
And I'd like to tell you a little bit about our lived values at Langley. We are a community that takes challenge and risk seriously in the middle school, and we think it's an incredibly important part of the middle school experience. So that is not only inside of the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. We want to challenge our students to think in a complex and passionate manner about what it is that they're studying, but we also want them to explore new interests. And part of exploring new interests is taking risks, and we encourage that. We foster that here, and it's something that we know is so important to this experience, because through risk-taking, through that challenge, comes the deepest, most profound learning. And we align these values in our community as a partnership, not only between the teacher and the student, but through the parent as well. And the more we are in communication about these values, and the more we can continue to provide an environment that is not only supportive, but encourages that ability to take a risk, that the most complex learning occurs. And I want to give you a few examples of what this looks like and how this plays out in a typical middle schooler's experience. So as you heard Eleanor and Ryan mention, leadership opportunities are incredibly important to us in the middle school experience. We offer a wide range of opportunities for our students to get involved, knowing that all of our students come to us at different levels and with different experiences and different comfort levels. And so we want to give them an opportunity, whether that be something they apply for and are voted on by their peers, like in the student council, or an experience in which they can be an ambassador to our school and help families get to our school in a different way. They could be the captain of a sports team, or they could be helping set up the stage for the school play. So these are just little glimpses of things that we provide, opportunities we provide for our students to get involved in leadership. We also know that some of these things happen in less structured times. For instance, when they're bonding with peers at an overnight field trip, or they're challenging themselves on a hike, or to interact with someone that might be different from them, have a culture that's different from them. And these are, again, moments that we know that they're going to be difficult, but we want to guide them through, and we know it can be really important for them. We also have lots of different opportunities to get involved in interests at school. So whether that be in our electives, or doing something like a performing arts after school, it's a chance for them to hone some of these skills that we know can be so valuable as they go into high school, being sure of themselves, being confident, getting up on stage and being able to deliver a speech. Or getting to try something different in an elective like robotics, or being a part of our green team. These are instances that we have built in that kids can follow some of these passions and try something new and different to explore a little bit more about who they are, and again, take these risks that we know will help them succeed. And the thing that we love about our middle school experience is how many of our students take advantage of these opportunities. Most of our students are involved in an activity after school, whether that be sports or the play, and they all get the opportunity to choose an elective, whether that be music or band, or something, as I mentioned prior, like robotics or green team.
So one of the things that we recognize in the middle school is it's a difficult time for kids, especially when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to the stressors of the age group in terms of dealing with peers, in terms of dealing with homework. So one of the things that we value is helping students to sort of better understand their own emotions, better understand who they are, and how to help them manage anxiety and stress. You know, for us here at Langley, we take great pride in our academics, but we also take great pride in helping students understand that. How do I manage my emotions? We do a lot of work with social and emotional learning, and Brent will tell you a little bit more about this in a minute here, because we're helping students feel balanced, helping them feel excited to come to school, to be in the classroom, and to sort of understand how they're feeling at the moment provides a better learning environment, not only for them, but their peers as well. So we make sure we do a lot of work in terms of research, in terms of professional development here at Langley to support our students should they be feeling stressed. And this isn't something that just lives in a counselor's office. This is something that all middle school teachers are trained in. This is something that we work as a team to make sure we're supporting our students, especially during their middle school years. So what you see here is we use our inquiry-based learning approach, which is unique here at Langley because we really encourage our students to own the learning. We provide opportunities for kids to sort of dive deep into subjects that they're curious about. We have a 20-time elective that is led by our Director of Technology. That's modeled after what Google does with 20% of their work time, to where if students are interested in a specific project, they have the tools and they have the skills to sort of dive deep into that material, and the teacher helps to facilitate, but the teacher doesn't own that process. He helps the students own that. But you also see that within our math classroom. You see that in our language arts classroom, to where students are a huge part or an integral part of the learning environment. And what we've also done with that is we paired it with our new REACH program, specifically on the social and emotional development of students.
So this REACH program is something that we have in tandem with a lot of our approach to learning in the classroom and how our teachers prepare for each and every day and build experiences for our students. So we know that it's important to have an explicit time that we can work on some of these skills that we know are so important to high school, paired with some of these kind of infused ways that we do this in our everyday classroom. So this REACH time, this explicit place that we can work on skills that we know can be so valuable, we have 3 different classes that middle schoolers take. And this acronym stands for reaching across our arc of development. So it's raising students that have emotional acuity, cultural responsiveness, and healthy behaviors. And so they will take these classes throughout their time, these 3 different classes, to learn a little bit more about what their emotions are and how to manage them and how to regulate them. They will learn a little bit about others, what makes people different, and how we can communicate them, and how we can respect people with different backgrounds and identities. We also speak to them about healthy behaviors, whether that be something that they do online, or just your better approach to treating your body in healthy ways, nutritious eating and working out, those types of things, and as well as reducing anxiety and stress. So we know that these explicit conversations and classes need to occur with our middle school students to help prepare them to be successful in high school. And I wanted to give you a few snapshots of a typical, or maybe not so typical, but a day in the life of a 6th grade student. So these are things that you might see as you're going throughout their day. They don't necessarily have all of these classes in a day, but these are some snapshots of things they would be doing throughout their experience in the middle school. So each of our students, when they come to school in the morning, goes to advisory. And advisory is a really great time for our students to get to know and work with a teacher that is really there to advocate for them. It's a great chance for us to check in with them in the morning and see if there's anything that they need to be successful in their school day. It's also a great chance for them to build a partnership with peers that might be in their grade or a grade or 2 above them. And so we know how valuable that time is to get that space to get them prepared for their day and build these friendships. We have a robust service learning program in which we know how important it is for students to be engaged and guide their own learning when it comes to service. They create their own projects, and for instance, you see a student here that is working on a gardening project that they developed themselves. We also have lots of different kind of performances that you see throughout here. So in the 6th grade, our students take part in the Bard Fest in February. It's a chance for them to recite Shakespeare. We also have lots of different chances for them to be leaders, as you can see, student council meeting here, and students getting to be involved in drama. We have some examples of classes that they would be in, like language arts and Spanish and PE. So this is just kind of a snapshot of what it might look like as you go through a day in 6th grade and getting to see these intentional classes that we have built and experience that we are giving them that can work on these leadership skills and these social and emotional skills as well. Here are some few snapshots of our 8th grade day, just so you can see how that kind of evolves over time. One of the really, or two of the really great experiences that our 8th graders have are in a unit that they work on that goes across several different classes. It's an interdisciplinary unit called the Untold Story. And I hope you can come in to learn a little bit more about this and what that looks like. But it's, again, a great chance for our students to take the opportunity challenge themselves and work in this really collaborative environment in a way that is challenging but really engaging and fun. And then the other program I wanted to mention is our Big Buddies, Little Buddies program. This is such a fantastic way for our oldest students to take another leadership role in which they aren't necessarily the head, in front, the head of the pack. It's a chance that they can engage with a younger student and model what responsible decision making is, and really engage a younger student in reading with them and guiding them and being their friend. And we know that for our younger students, it can have a profound effect for them to have this role model. But for our older students, it can give them really a great sense of empowerment to be able to take someone young under their wing and have that built into their school day.
So all of this leads to really what's really special about Langley is what's the portrait of a graduate here. Everything that you've learned about, that Brent has shared and Eleanor have discussed in terms of the social and emotional development of students, the experiences that we provide, really helps to develop students who have a strong sense of self by the time they leave. Our graduates are ready for the next challenge for any high school that they choose to go to. And one of the things that we know, and this is the feedback that we receive from area high schools where our students attend, is that our kids are prepared to be engaged in classrooms, extracurriculars, service projects, you name it, all because of what we provide here for them in terms of the risk-taking, in terms of opportunities, in terms of partnering with parents and students to make sure that the student experience is one that really is appropriately challenging, but also one to where they feel support. The other thing that is actually really neat about the portrait of the profile of our student is because they will have gone through a high school process, which I'll touch on here in a second, they're ready for a college placement process. They've put themselves out there before in terms of a competitive environment where they have to sort of own their own process and say, here's why I'd be a great fit for this next school. And because of that, our kids are confident. And because of that too, our kids are happy they transition to their next environment. One of the things that you see here too is when you have the opportunity to come back in, you can learn more about parent and student perspectives about their child's experience here at Langley, and then from this young man, his experience and what Langley has provided for him. And finally, one of the things that we absolutely love is that our kids really do go to a wide range of different area high schools and boarding schools. And what we know about our kids is there's not one particular school for everyone. By the time they hit the age of 14 and they have a better sense of who they are, they begin to look for high schools that will best fit where they are in their development and challenge them to continue to grow. And through this period of the high school placement process, there's a period of self-reflection that you see to where kids really become enabled and empowered to have conversations with their parents about what they want next and who they are. And it's a wonderful opportunity for parents to partner with their child to say, okay, because you are feeling confident and because you know who you are, let's find a high school environment that best fits where you are emotionally, and it's going to challenge you academically. And what we know is this process really does prepare students for college because, as I said earlier, they've already put themselves out there. They know how to take risks. They know how to support one another. And they know how to go through a process and say, you know what, I'm going to own this, and I'm going to feel confident while doing so.
So I'll just close before we take some questions to suggest that this is the tip of the iceberg. It's impossible for the three of us to encapsulate in 30 minutes all the remarkable things that happen at Langley and happen in our middle school program. So it's just you come to that information session, which is just a commitment of a couple of hours on the morning of December the 6th. You can also schedule a tour with our admission office. We're happy to have you in and show you around so you can see some of this in action. You're welcome to submit an online application that will also initiate a process that would bring you to us. And then complete an application and testing if it's appropriate, and teacher recommendations and all of that, and the visit are due by January the 12th. So you have some time, but it's going to be upon us before we know it, so we would encourage you to get here and spend some time visiting us. So now I'm going to pop over in this webinar and see if we've got some folks who've written questions, and we will happily answer as many of them as we can. Please elaborate on what the teachers, the teacher-student and the teacher-parent relationships are like during the middle school years. So I think I'll let our team from the middle school go right to that.
Absolutely, it's critical, because we know that the way students learn best is to partner with parents to help sort of keep them apprised to what's going on. And we're very transparent with our parents and students in terms of communicating, so there's no surprises. We ask our parents to contact either the child's advisor and or the teacher should they have any questions or need assistance. We're not afraid to reach out to parents to sort of share the wonderful things that are happening that may be going on in advisory or the classroom. But we're also not shy about contacting parents as if we're experiencing any difficulty, because the one thing we know is partnering with parents at home provides a really good experience for kids here at school.
And let's see, we've got a couple of others. What do you do to help assimilate the new students to the middle school? That's a great question.
Sure. So one of my favorite days in the school year is actually right before the school year starts, in which we invite our new students, whether that be new to Langley or new to the middle school, in for an orientation. And we find that day to be so fun and so important because kids come in just brimming with excitement and a little bit of nervousness. And we want to make them feel comfortable, and we want to make them a part of our community as quickly as we can. So the great thing is, prior to that day, we've set up our students with a family that will reach out to, if they are new to our school, they'll reach out to them and make sure that they have kind of a resource to get to know someone at within our community. And then once they get here, they have had that person that they've connected with, and they come into our middle school, and we walk them through where their classrooms are and where their locker is and what their passwords are, you know, getting their Chromebooks and walking them through our website. I think that it's really important to just get them familiar and get them comfortable with what the experience will be like. And then we work on a lot of team building and bonding. We think that that is not something that can be done in isolation. It has to be something that we consistently refer to and come back to throughout the year. But there are lots of pockets of that in which we're getting them to interact with each other in a safe way, where they're comfortable to get to know someone and ask someone questions. And we see that happening frequently throughout the year, whether that be in advisory or within a class or on a field trip. Lots of experiences to get them kind of integrated into our community.
You know, and Brent did a great job describing the new to middle school student orientation day. But just this past year, we hired a new director of social and emotional learning, Dr. Sarah Sumwalt. And another thing that she'll do is she'll have a lunch bunch with new students to better understand what their transition experiences are like coming to the middle school. And if we hear of any themes or things that we can do differently or during the weeks to sort of provide those students more support, then obviously we do that. Also, to start the school year, our advisors within the first six weeks of school contacted parents just to check in and see how the parents' transition is going. What are their expectations and what has it been like? That way parents know and they feel as though that even though the children are transitioning to the school, parents do as well. And we want them to feel supported and to know that we're here to help as much as we can.
And one of the neat things about Langley is we don't have necessarily traditional entry points, so that kids come along the way. And so I think it's not like they're breaking in middle school to a group that's been together since birth and, you know, where it feels intimidating. Kids have joined along the way, and we see that as infusing a lot of new positive energy to the group. And I think kids appreciate that having new peers really helps kind of enliven the learning environment, and you know, gives them a network of people to create new friendships with. So we're just about out of time. There are a couple of questions that we didn't get to. One is on technology. How do you introduce and expose students to technology in middle school? I mean, Brent mentioned that students get Chromebooks. It's a pretty dynamic space, but we always believe that technology is a tool for learning. We want to do that intelligently. And then in our REACH program, for instance, we spend a lot of time talking about the responsible use of technology in social worlds. But I think I love that in our school, a school of our size, we can maximize the use of educational technology while also talking and having really honest conversations with kids about how technology is shaping the way they live in the world today. And we'll have parent education seminars about that. So it's a pretty wonderful way to integrate that for young people, because we know it's a big part of their world. So we are just at 12:30, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time today and making the commitment to join our webinar. I really will underscore everything that's been said thus far, which is the best way to get to know Langley School is to come to Langley School. And I cannot wish that more for you. I'm sitting with two colleagues who I admire tremendously and hope you'll get a chance to get to know them, because I think if you come to our campus, you'll see some of this magic at work. So with that, I'm going to thank you for your time, invite you back to see us, and wish you well. So thank you so very much for being on the webinar today.